Broadcasting from the crypt. Welcome to Velvet Bite Radio.
You've entered Velvet Bite Radio, my friends, where the undead speak and the forgotten bite back. I'm your host, Melissa Dawn Harris, writer, researcher, and devoted wanderer through vampire folklore, history, and film. Each week, we descend into the crypt of culture to uncover the myths, monsters, and meaning behind the vampire's eternal allure. So pour a glass, dim the lights, and let's begin. Alrighty, everybody, welcome to the show. We'll wait for some of you to stream in. It is the Velvet Bite Radio, and we've got a little switch today. We are not going to talk necessarily about vampires, but we're going to get into the creepy crawlies, the ghosts, the Bigfoot with my guest. Bigfoot Michigan Rob is here. I've been on his show, so hopefully a few of you will stream in. I know we had a busy night last night. It went a little more political. I didn't plan that show, but I wanted to make a statement just to remind everybody to stay calm in these crazy times. And for next week, we're only having a Tuesday show. Not going to have a Thursday show. I have a lot of things to do, but I've got a great lineup for you guys. I've got Malia coming on the 30th of September. We're going to be talking about vampires in California. I think we're going to kick off October with a pagan Halloween history of show. Then I've got Dan and Ava from Vamp Chat coming on the 9th of October. Gary Parsons, filmmaker, author. His father worked for Hammer Horrors on the 16th. And then we're having a special show just before Halloween at the end of October. We are doing a Dark Shadows show, Vampire City, on the Thursday with Walter Bosley and Todd Wood. You guys, they're coming on, and if I get any other guests hooked in, I will let you know. But it's going to be exciting. Lots of new guests, lots of vampires, and lots of occult in the system. I couldn't give that up. When I did the show on Thursday on vampires, I realized I had to do a second show talking about the system, conspiracy, and occult. So, of course, that's the Tuesday show. But I have show and tell. Before I bring Rob in, let's do a show and tell, because when Ozzy Osbourne passed away, I went and ordered what I thought was a Funko Pop. And I thought I was going to get this super cool Funko Pop toy in commemorative, and it arrived, and I have to show you what it was, and I feel cheated. It's not a Funko Pop. It's kind of cool, but I mean, I don't know if you guys can see the really bad paint job. It was advertised as a Funko Pop, and it's a Funko not Pop, but it's supposed to be Ozzy, you know, in the back to the beginning, his last concert, but it is definitely not a Funko Pop, so I was a little bit disappointed. So buyer beware. You may not be getting the Funko Pop online that you think you should be getting. Okay, so before I get in there, remember, thumbs up, press that subscribe button if you're not subscribed, and also add this to a playlist, because every interaction, every comment, every playlist, everything you do on the show helps the show grow and get better and better and great. So I really appreciate you guys coming on here, making the commentary, interacting in the live chat. Hopefully a few more of you will come on, but yeah, that's it. That's my ask of the day. Let's not wait too much longer. Let's get Rob in here so we can find out everything about Bigfoot Michigan Rob.
Ooh.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Melissa. I do not know if your listeners want to know everything about me, but yeah.
Well, we can start with, when did Rob get into this kind of field? And I'm sure you have a long history. Like,
Yes.
give, like, an elevator speech if you want.
Yeah, it's kind of, like, weird. Thanks for that. Thanks for having me on, by the way. So I'm glad to be here. Um, and for those that are listening, Melissa was on my show, like, 2 or 3 weeks ago. That was a fantastic show, so thank you for that. Um, yeah, my history when we talk about, like, the paranormal and ghosts and these cryptid creatures is kinda strange, but I like to first always start by saying when I was a kid, I was brought up on the black and white movies. My dad, and my brother, he's 2 years younger than me. The first genre that I ever seen as far as movies go, seriously, was the black and whites. Bela Lugosi with, Count Dracula, seen that. Then it was Lon Chaney Jr. with The Wolfman, awesome. And then the other one was Boris Karloff, Frankenstein's monster. Right out of the get-go, I don't know how old I was a young kid, and immediately I knew that I always would like monsters, right? Always. So that's kind of where I started with this weirdness, but but it kind of evolved as I got older and things of that nature, and it's weird because and I'm not gonna talk when I do this, I'm giving just a brief little bio about me growing up and things. When I grew up, 5 or 6 years old, I saw my first ghost, in my bedroom, and I woke up
Mhm.
like a baby, ran into mom and dad's room. Of course, they told me I was dreaming, and I would see it kind of all the time. Then one night I woke up my brother and I could see this ghost. He couldn't see anything. Then, of course, he starts crying. So this went on for a while. Then it kind of faded away. And then a couple of years later, my mom was making breakfast, getting ready to take me and my brother to school. And we saw a UFO hovering over our house in the backyard, which actually made the news that evening. That a lot of people called in to report a UFO or some flying object in the city. And then as I got a little bit more older, when I got married, but then it kind of stopped. Then I got married.
Mhm.
Married the same ghost from my childhood seemed to follow me into this house, which again I saw. My wife at the time didn't see it. Then a year or two later, there were shadow people in our house, which is a crazy story, which, my wife and I both saw together. And then I owned a bar. I sold it in 2020 for 13 years, and I seen ghosts in my bar as well as a lot of my employees. Now, that's what I saw, growing up. Those are lots of other things, but those are my major headlines. And then, but I will tell you what, and I really didn't even know throughout all these years what this was. I couldn't put my finger on it until I had my Bigfoot encounter,
Mhm.
June 15th of 2018. Oddly enough, it kind of brought all this together. And it's really the reason why I personally now started a YouTube channel. I've written 2 books on the subjects, right? And I kind of realize that, yeah, all these things kind of are connected, right? But I didn't really realize this until 2018, and I'm gonna get on with what really got me started to start my channel and stuff. It's because, I was dating this girl, her name is Cindy, and I was dating her for going close to maybe 2 years, and I told Cindy, I said, "Hey, I planned a little trip for you and I." I said, "We're going to Cadillac, Michigan." I said, "It's a very quaint town. It's got a lot of things to do." I said, "I wanna take you fishing." 'Cause I'm a outdoors type of guy. I'm not really a hunter, but I do like fishing. I like camping and things like that, and she really wasn't into all of that, and I said, "Look, we'll spend a day, we'll do a little fishing, and then you can go do whatever you want in Cadillac, because Cadillac's a quaint town. It's got a lot of shops, little restaurants, things for that she was into."
Right.
So cool. So it just so happened I was talking to a friend of mine. He said, "Rob, man, I've got a cabin, that I'm trying to sell, but, I'm not having it up for sale this weekend, which you could use the cabin for free. And he also told me that he had a skiff, like a really small boat for fishing, but it's not, a big boat like you might be thinking. It was just good enough to tool around the lake. Now, Lake Cadillac is kind of a big lake, and it's also connected to another lake, which is quite big, called Lake Mitchell. So I told Cindy, hey, this is what we're going to do. June 15th, 2018. Date's important. And when I describe some of these things, it's very important when I tell you some of these descriptions because it plays a role later. And I also have to add, everybody, and to you, Cindy's mother hated me and thought I was a demon because I owned a bar.
Oh.
Yeah, I owned a bar. Therefore,
Oh my goodness.
yeah. And she was very religious. She was 100% Italian. I said,
Oh,
well,
so
you're
so
100%
very
Italian,
Catholic.
huh? Very Catholic. Yeah, she's Catholic.
The mob.
I say, hey, you're probably a member of the mob. And I told her that she would never, and Cindy and I did not live together. So if I called the house because her cell phone wasn't picking up, her mom would hang up on me. So that's an important part of this story too. So I'll let you get that out in the beginning. So anyway, moving on. We get up, we go fishing on Lake Cadillac. We get the little skiff, the little boat. I'll refer to it as a boat, but not a very big boat at all. And we're tooling around Lake Cadillac. Now, Lake Cadillac is in the Manistee National Forest. The Manistee National Forest is also in Wexford County, Michigan. And as I find out later in life, Wexford County, Michigan is the quote unquote capital of dogman sightings in my state.
Oh.
Yeah, dogman. And it's also very prevalent when it comes to Bigfoot encounters. Now, again, mind you, during this time, I'm not a Bigfoot researcher. I'm not into Bigfoot. I knew about Bigfoot way back when we were all little kids, and I saw Leonard Nimoy in Search of, and they had that Bigfoot thing on there, right? So I knew about Bigfoot, but no big deal. And again, I was into horror and monsters, and Bigfoot was right there. And I probably would tell you that I probably believed it existed. In fact, at this time in my life, I knew that I believed in UFOs and aliens, ghosts, because I seen ghosts. So, anyways, Cadillac, we're tooling around Cadillac, a lot of big, beautiful homes on Cadillac. It's in the Manistee National Forest, a lot of small industry. So, anyway, long story short, I got to paint the picture of this day. It's not a holiday. It's June 15th, like I said. I think it was like a Wednesday. And brilliant blue sky, not a cloud in the sky, nice, the sun, orange sun, and the forest lush green. So everything is exquisite. So we're tooling around. We start doing some fishing, and we're about an hour into our fishing little adventure, and we're not catching anything. Melissa, it was kind of boring. I'm actually getting bored. Cindy, of course, is bored out of her mind. So I said,
Right.
let's do some exploring on this boat here. So I reeled in the rods, the reel, blah, blah, blah. So we go about just driving around on the boat, and then we came across this canal. And this canal connected to Lake Mitchell, a very big, expansive lake as well, but not as quite as populated, not as many houses. Yes, are there houses on it? There was like a park, but it was just a lake, and this forest is just booming in the background. Very pretty, very serene. So we're in the boat, and I'm about maybe 90 feet from the shoreline. I found a little cove off of this lake, which was even really cool, very secluded. So I said, okay. So I took the little motor that was on the boat and I put it on a low troll speed. And I'm drifting like 90 feet from shore. So I told Cindy, okay, I'm going to redo the bait on our tackle. And I'm going to, we'll see if we can catch some fish here. She's okay, that's cool, stuff like that. So as I'm preoccupied with putting the tackle together, Cindy says to me, hey, Rob, I think somebody's throwing rocks at the boat. I go, what? and I look up, I look to the shoreline. Now, everybody, the shoreline, there's nothing there. Nobody's there. In fact, it's almost kind of like the woods dropped right into the lake. There were areas where a person could probably stand, but there was no one there, Melissa. So I'm like, well, hang on a minute. I doubt it. Maybe some fish jumping around or whatever. So she goes, yeah, okay, whatever. So I go back to tending the tackle, the bait on
Mhm.
the fishing pole. She says more emphatically, Rob, someone's tossing rocks at the boat. I just seen one hurl from the tree line. I look at her, I look up, nothing there. I said, you know what, honey? Okay, maybe there is. I don't see anybody. Let me finish this and then so I can concentrate and then I'll join you. Okay, fine. So I go back again to connecting whatever I'm doing with the fishing poles. For whatever reason, Melissa, I look up into the sky. And again, as I say, beautiful day, blue sky, and I see some object kind of falling from the sky. I'm like, what in the hell is that? And sure enough, it's a rock. It's a rock. It's about the size of a baseball and kerplunk right in front of the boat, maybe 3.5, 4 feet. And I go to turn to my right to apologize to Cindy because yes, this is a rock. And she's standing on this skiff little boat, right? And she's staring, deadpanning the shoreline. And I have to say something about Cindy. June 15th, she was at this point, she already had a golden tan. She was a sun goddess. She had a great tan on June
Right.
15th. I must say, when I looked at her, I seen her eyes locked on the tree line. Her tan was pale from head to toe. And I'm like,
Wow.
what is she looking at? And I looked to the tree line, and they're standing there, no doubt. Had to have been 8 foot tall, 9 foot tall, in a clearing, covered in reddish brown hair from head to toe. Is this humanoid looking thing. And I tell you, when I say reddish brown hair, it was a glowing coat. Beautiful. It really was a beautiful
Like
color.
like like a lustrous coat or like really
Yes.
glowing, like light?
Glowing and shiny and very
Okay.
vibrant. And I'm not far. I'm 90 feet, you guys. And I could have even been drifting closer. And I noticed I'm looking at this thing and it looked almost human like. It looked like a human being with a very distorted, disfigured face. In fact, I get such a good look at this face that it almost looked like it was a person, an old man that had a stroke. It had offset eyes that one drooped down below. It had a grayish, wrinkled face, opaque eyes, very big eyes. The front, now, of course, I mentioned had this reddish brown long hair, but the front of his chest was gray and very very barreled looking. It had been 3.5, 4 foot wide. This thing, it's like it was 800 pounds. And I'm looking at this thing. I can't get my eyes off of this. Hey, Kelly Lewis. Hey, Janice. Hey, everybody for coming on in. So all of a sudden, though, I'm describing this weird looking person, but it's not a person, right? Covered in hair. It's weird. But then all of a sudden, though, it kind of leans back and his head kind of drops down. His shoulders kind of go up past like the jaw, but the jaw, Melissa, drops. It kind of distends from its mouth and it drops down perhaps 6 inches. And it opens this gaping mouth. You could fit like a softball in it. Exposes sets of teeth, two like fang like and scissors at the top and two on the bottom. And as I explained about that grayish, weird looking human face, the eyes, the opaque eyes roll back black, and that skin, that gray skin of a humanish looking person, got very taut and tight and turned almost like a purple color. And it kind of looked now like a demon, like it metamorphosized into something demonic looking. And as it opens this huge mouth, in this unison, this roar bellows from inside itself. And it doesn't move just out of the mouth. And this roar echoes from where he's standing towards me and Cindy in this boat, and I can feel a vibration come at me and hit me. And I'm sitting down and I kind of stumble back in my seat. Cindy, at the time, all 5 foot of her, 109 pounds, standing, gets hit with this same reverberation and she falls off the boat into the
Oh
water.
my God.
Yeah, now, but listen. So when I get hit with this sound, this crazy sonic blast, I like to say, I now have to now Cindy can swim, but still I got to get her in to help her get her into the boat.
Yeah.
But now here's the weird thing. As weird as that sounds, all of a sudden, that's why I always like to say the brilliant blue sky and the green lush, the creature. I'm now looking, my vision is distorted. It's like I'm looking through this filter. Everything is grainy and black and white. I try to move to my right and I'm paralyzed and I can't move. It seems like time stood still and I cannot move. And I know I have to get Cindy in, help her get in the boat and get the hell out of there, but I cannot move. And I'm trying to shake my head back and forth. I snap out of it. I'm back to myself. I can now see everything's more cognizant now. And Cindy's already halfway getting up into the boat, and I get her. I pull her in the boat. Now the most scared I think I was at this point is when I looked to the shoreline, and this thing's gone. I'm like, where in the hell did it go? Was it swimming? I don't know
Yeah.
what
What do
this
you
is.
do now? Where do
What
you
do I
go?
do? Yeah. So we're on this boat, this dinky ass boat, right? So I whip it around and I open up the throttle as 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 I open it up all the way to full blast, right? I'm
Hmm.
blasting across this Lake Mitchell. I get to the canal that connected to Lake Cadillac, get on Cadillac, and I just beeline it. I'm not even paying attention all the way straight to where I can to the shore on the other side where I launched the boat. Dock the boat, whatever, grab Cindy. She's shaking, she's freezing. I think there was like a beach towel or something on the boat, wrap her in that and that. We get out and I walk up this little hill. I'm looking for some place for us to go sit down. Get over this hill, and then maybe a half block up there is on a corner. There's just like corner like bar restaurant. I said, Cindy, let's beeline toward this place. She's like, yeah. Walk in there. And again, like I say, it's the middle of the week. It's like on Wednesday. Not a lot of people, thankfully, are in this place. We go in, we sit down. To the right, there's like a couple at the one far right side of the bar, but on the left side, there's nothing but booths on the back wall. No booths were filled, so we went back to the far one, the back left corner. Me and Cindy go in. We sit down. We're across from each other, not saying a word. Barmaid, the bartender, whatever, a lady comes up to us, goes to Cindy first. Now, Cindy, not a drinker at all. Yeah, she
Hmm.
visited me at my bar many times, but not a drinker. I never seen her drink. Cindy goes, I'll have a bottle of Bud Light and a shot of Jack Daniels. And I'm thinking, yeah, yeah. And the waitress looks at me and I says, I'll have the same, but make mine a double. So she kind of laughs or whatever, walks away, gets our drink orders. Cindy and I are looking at each other. We're still not saying a word. Nothing. We're waiting for the drinks. The waitress comes back, sits down the drinks. Cindy takes that shot of Jack, pops it back like she's been drinking for 20 plus years, like a professional. Takes that bottle of Bud, washes it down. Of course, I do the same. And then she says, Robbie, I go, yeah. What do you think that was that we saw? And I said, Cindy, I don't really know. What do you think? And she and I never discussed Bigfoot ever in our lifetime. Oh, well, our brief, almost 2 years, dating. She goes, I think maybe it was that Bigfoot creature. And I said, yeah, maybe perhaps it was. Because I was reflecting back on years ago when I
Right.
saw Leonard Nimoy, right?
Right.
I go, maybe it was, but I have my doubts. I'm thinking to myself, just to myself. She goes, should we call the police, the sheriff, the DNR? I said, no, and tell them what exactly? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how
What
to,
what what are they gonna do?
yeah. So I said, no, I think we keep it to ourselves. She goes, yeah. So we finished our drinks. Maybe we might eat. I don't even think we ate. We were just too, we're probably still in shock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that kind of ended the trip early. We got my vehicle and we went home. Now when we get home, we immersed ourselves. We immediately went online. We went on like YouTube, and it's funny about YouTube. I didn't have I didn't watch YouTube except to watch like live concerts or recorded concerts from the past. I never
Right.
used it for anything else. I did not even know that they had live chat shows like this, right? And so, but I started typing Bigfoot, doing it on the computer, and I must tell you, all the things that we started pulling up was didn't make a lot of sense. It didn't really match what we had seen. And then I started calling people. I tried to get involved with this in this Bigfoot scene, and I got a hold of. I was led down a wrong path with a lot of these
Like a
guys.
red
They're,
herring. Yeah.
yes, so that was kind of disappointed. But here's the thing, but we immersed ourselves in this. I mean, she lived with her mom at this time, but every time we were together, primarily at my house, that's all we did. It's like we did nothing else but study this stuff, right?
You had
Now,
to know. I mean,
we
I would
wanted to
too.
know. We wanted to know. Here is like the sad part of this entire encounter. As I made mention, her mom hated me, never called me, this, that, and the other, nothing.
Mm.
So this experience, as I said earlier, was June 15th, 2018. I get a call on August 15th, 2018, exactly 2 months to the day of our experience. I answered the phone and I don't recognize really the voice. I kind of thought it was Cindy's mom, and it was. And I said, "Oh, what are you calling? You never call me." No, you're all to blame. I knew you were the devil. And then I'm going to tell you right now that Cindy passed away late last night. And she tells me this. She goes, I want to tell you, I blame you for it. I knew you were no good. You're not coming to the funeral. I'm not telling you where it's at. If you even show up, I'm going to have my sons throw you out and do other things to you. That's what she says. She hangs up.
Did you ever find out what was the cause of her
Oh,
death?
well, her mom did make mention. I said, well, how the hell did she die? Because I need to know that at least. Well, supposedly they're saying it was a heart attack. I said, a heart attack? She don't drink, she don't smoke, she's in great health. She's in her early 40s. Give me a break. I don't believe that for 1 minute. That's all I'm telling you. So I go to the funeral. I go anyways. I find out where this funeral is, and sure enough, yeah, her two big burly sons, yeah, they could have torn me a new butthole, and I couldn't get in. They were very rude to me, very, very terrible to me. The mom was very terrible to me, and I can't get. And I try to get reports, autopsy reports, cause of death. Being that we weren't married, I can't get a hold of any of this.
Right.
So to this day, as of today, as we speak today, that's a mystery how she died. So, anyways, I blamed this. I blamed it on myself because not today. I do not, but it was like, well, I
Mm.
never should have taken her. I said, you know what happened to us on that lake? Maybe when, as I said earlier in the story, how we got hit with that
You were
weird
like zapped.
zapped. Right? I said maybe it screwed up her internal organs. So I'm like, oh my God. I have no closure for one. I can't see my girlfriend, one last time, despite the circumstances, right? And I went a deep, dark place. I went to my business, my bar. I told my bar manager, I said, look, dude, I'm taking a leave from absence. There's some things I have to work through. Here are the keys, man. Don't rip me off. Just put the money in the bank. I trust you. I've known you for like 8 years now. Hey, Rob, boss, what's up? I said, I can't, I just want to get into it right now. I have to do some soul searching. So I immersed myself further into this, trying to figure out maybe not so much what we saw, but trying to figure out what happened to her. And I thought there was a connection. I did at this time. So I went to this dark spot. I just did. And every person I tried to get in touch with was just did not, they wanted something out of it, this, that, and the other. So I finally got a hold of this guy. His name was Kerry Arnold. I happened to find him on YouTube. He had kind of a similar encounter as I did. And Kerry back in the day, now Kerry has now passed away, by the way. Yeah, that's another weird story. But he leaves his phone number for people to call him if you need help. And nobody was helping me at this point, Melissa. I said, man, I'm going to call this guy. So I just am lost. I'm alone in the world right now. I call this guy. He answers it on 2 rings. I said, Carrie, hi, this I saw you on YouTube, blah, blah, blah. Here's me. I need to tell you about what happened to me. Talked to the guy for 3.5 hours on the phone. He was talking to me, a total stranger, told me I wasn't going crazy. He said I had an experience with something out of this world, something that's not supposed to exist. Was uncertain about the death of my girlfriend at the time. Didn't know how to answer that question. Nobody does to this day. And so he made me feel better about myself. And then he told me, you've got to go public with this because number one, when I did it, he says to me when he did it on his encounter, it's like therapy. You'll feel much better. You can't keep this closed in. So I went on Sasquatch Chronicles. I got on that show. And it's the first time I ever did anything to the public on a live public broadcasting. And Sasquatch Chronicles is huge, right? But it's a tape show. And I must tell you, it was a 40-minute show on my part. It took 4 hours to do because I broke down crying every 10 minutes because I could not get through it. But he was Wes Germer's his name. Cool guy. Edited it out. We finally got that together. And then I contacted some other people and I said, all of a sudden I had this. I went back to work finally. And then I just had this revelation that I walked alone for so long, which was like 8 months. I said, other people's stories need to be told because this is therapeutic. I decided to go and help others. And that's how my channel got started. And that's how my 2 books got written, is because of helping others, because that was the darkest time in my life. And it's really not even so much about having the Bigfoot encounter, Melissa. It was
But
about
the
what I
loss.
thought afterwards, right?
Right.
And then I was self-doubted. I said, I never should have made, I know she really didn't want to go fishing. She didn't, I'll be honest with you. That I was blaming myself for the longest time. I
Right.
actually don't say this too often. I sought a psychiatrist to help me.
Oh,
And that was they thought it was, and I really skirted around the encounter, but finally after my third shrink told the truth, and the guy just listened and told me, first of all, don't put yourself through that hell. You had nothing to do with her death.
yeah. You could have never known.
Yeah, never know. So that's kind of how the Bigfoot Michigan Rob media started. um
Well, I mean, I'm really sorry. I just want to say I'm sorry for your
yeah.
tragedy, but I'm glad you were able to transform it into something like your channel, which is really great.
Yeah, and I tell you, if this never happened, I never would be on the air. I never would have started a channel. I'd continue doing my thing. And I just want to give back that was never given to me,
Mhm.
because there's more than just me out there. This guy Carrie. and I've gotten over 300. I've gotten over. Well, my 2 books is about, like, people's encounters. I have over 100. I've got 200 stories still sitting in my email from people.
Do you think that, because I lived on Vancouver Island in Canada, like
Yes.
Sasquatch Central. I've never seen it. I know lots of people do. Do you think there's certain people they target or that they're exposed to? I've experienced ghosts, but never that. But or is it just because I don't go out camping as much?
No, here's the thing about that. It's a great question because, as they say about Bigfoot, right? And again, I can't tell you 100% if what I saw was Bigfoot simply because of the metamorphosis. It looked like that humanoid, but then it looked like a demon, the metamorphosis part. So I'd say my Bigfoot encounter, yes. I still question what exactly it was, but to answer your question, if Bigfoot wants to show itself to you, he will. They
Okay.
they are the hide and seek champions, they say. They really want nothing to do with us from what I've learned over the last since I started studying this stuff, and really since late 2018, 2019. And I've had many researchers on and people that go out looking for them. They want nothing to do with us. They're socialized, yet at the same time, they want nothing to do with us. But that's a great question because they say if you come across an experience, a lot of people believe once you see one, you're more apt to see others, almost like you're marked.
Oh, like
So,
you've got a scent on you.
yes, it's almost like if you've never seen one, you're cool. But if you've seen one, you're more apt to see others. And everybody that I've spoken with since I've been doing this that's seen one have seen more than one. Okay. I have only seen the one because I have not been back out in the woods researching. I just don't go in the woods.
Well, that's a really that's not your everyday experience that you had. Like that's an
Yeah.
exceptional experience. So I wouldn't want to do that either, you
Yeah,
know?
it's just I want to go out one day? I probably will. Plus, I have everyday life too, so I can't afford to go away from the weekend. And really,
Mhm.
you're not going to find one on the weekend, anyways. And here's the thing: hunters always say, "Rob, I've been hunting for 20 and 30 years. I've never seen one." But my response is, "Have you been looking for them?" Because I guarantee you
Right.
walk
It
past
could
them
be
every day.
it could be camouflaged
They could be
somewhere,
right next to you.
watching you like a cougar.
They blend into a tree, and you would know if you
Okay.
looked at it.
Here's what I will tell you.
Yeah.
When I was on Vancouver Island, I love hiking in the woods. I did, and I would go to trails that were common, but there was one place you could hike down to the ocean, or you could go on the other side. And whenever I go on the other side, I just always felt like this horrible, horrible feeling like someone was watching me.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I couldn't even go. I'd go at one time I did the whole walk, but I thought I was going to get sick. It was so heavy. And I went again and I just got up and left. I couldn't do it. And I thought, it's me. I'm going crazy. My instincts were like, get out, get out. I'm like, maybe it's a cougar, maybe it's something. And then finally I had friends who told me, no, Melissa, we feel the same way when we go in there. Don't go in there. There's like bad stuff. There's something weird over there. So, it's bizarre that maybe you don't see it, but maybe you get a really bad feeling, like, you just know and you're, like, literally all the hairs on the back of your neck.
And you make a great point too about a lot of people that I've spoken with have said that have had these encounters with cryptids in general, always have that feel of being watched more so than a cougar or a bear. Because I don't think they probably watch you, but it seems like it's really more prevalent with these cryptid creatures that you get that sense that, yeah, they're watching you. So if you had that sense, something probably was watching you.
And well, after people confirmed to me that they had the same thing, I'm like, "Okay." I never went back in there. Uh, Never. And I was friends with somebody whose family used to own the whole area before they sold it off into a provincial park or whatever. And she was like, "No, don't go there. There's like she thought it was like cursed or something." I'm like, "I don't know what it is, but there's something around there watching." And I gives me the heebie-jeebies every time. It's overwhelming. It was overwhelming. And it's I'm yeah, and I would always hike in areas that were commonly populated because of the idea that I didn't want to run into a bear or a cougar, right? By myself. And I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, right. I hear you.
Right? It's like when you live where I lived in Vancouver Island, it was a reality that a cougar could be watching you. That was the first thing I thought of, but it could also be something else.
Well, and Vancouver Island, British Columbia, those are the two that I've heard of. That's really lots of Sasquatch out there, or Bigfoot, if you will.
Yeah,
A
that's
lot
good
of
to hear.
reports from out there. Hey, before I continue on, I got that dog give me that look. Give me
Yeah,
about
you go ahead.
30 seconds, and I'll be right back. So
No worries.
thanks. Hello, everybody. I can't say anything in the chat room,
Rob's just gonna take a mini
but
break, and I'll keep talking to y'all.
yeah, I'll be right back. Just 30. I gotta let the dog out, you guys. I got a new dog I'm watching for my brother. Hang on.
All right, guys. So yeah, I don't know if any of you guys out there in the audience have had that experience in the woods. If you have, pop a comment, let me know. But it was spook. So Jonaside says, I have ran into a black bear and cougar while hunting. The bear was nothing, turned and left. The cougar looked at me completely neutral, but the forest didn't go silent. Yeah, that's how it was. The forest went completely silent. Everything was really weird. My whole body started feeling weird. I just couldn't take it. And it happened on more than one occasion. And then when other people confirmed they had the same experiences in the same area, I was like, okay, so I'm not crazy. I'm not cuckoo. It's not just me. Other people are having this too. And there were creepy people that would come around there. They were having more problems with male predators stalking people, but it wasn't a male predator. I would have seen him. It definitely wasn't. There was something weird. I don't know if it's a Bigfoot, a curse, a spirit. Jonaside adds, I have been in the woods when it goes totally silent, but nothing around it was spooky. Huh. Interesting. It's an interesting experience. And, I have had paranormal experiences, but I've never had like where I saw some kind of cryptid or I could identify, hey, I saw Bigfoot. But that was definitely a real one, which left me with unease. Welcome back.
Thanks. I'm sorry about that. Like I told you earlier, I'm watching my brother's dog who has a
Oh,
urinary.
good.
He's good to go. It was quick. I hate doing that, but duty calls.
Now, in your podcast, like when you're dealing with, have you find that your experience is tied into other phenomena, and have you interviewed people who have been able to tie it in, like as like identify, like maybe it wasn't Bigfoot because it did the transformation thing, maybe it's something else, or is it tied into anything else, do you think?
Well, I've gotten so many different, and by the way, all the people that I've spoken with, whether on the show or they send me emails, so many different theories and possibilities. Some suggest it was just paranormal. Some suggest that it walked through a portal. I actually did this, and I don't normally do this. I talked to 3 different psychic mediums, and all 3 gave me all 3 totally different answers, which I kind of didn't quite believe.
Right.
But some people had suggested, and I kind of believe this. I always tell this story the same, how I thought it looked like a demon. And after I started researching and looking into this, do you know that there's a lot of mammals, like in the ape family? One in particular being the baboon. If you look at a baboon, ugly to begin with, but when it's feels threatened, or wants to scare you off, it takes that face and it metamorphoses that face and exposes all the teeth. His face gets really taut as well, kind of similar
Right.
to what I experienced. So I think what I saw wasn't paranormal. I think it was just it was threatened of me for whatever the reason. I don't know. Some people suggested maybe Young was in the area and he was
Mm-hmm.
protecting them. Some people suggested I was in his fishing grounds. But an interesting thing about all of this was on a lot of the comments that I've gotten from the Cadillac, Michigan area, in fact, where I was, people have commented and sent me long emails. Rob, what you're saying is absolutely true. I've heard those screams at night, and I've seen something similar from the shadows of the woods. Never seen it quite like I did. So there's a lot of confirmations. And the thing that I brought to you earlier was the reason about Wexford, Michigan being the capital of Dogman, and there's been
Mhm.
a lot of Bigfoot encounters. That area, I went on this BFRO website, and there were like 237 reported sightings of Bigfoot in that area alone over the last, decade that have been reported. And another thing about this is there are thousands of people that don't even call in or make reports.
Right, so that's just what they know of.
That's correct. So a lot of people can relate to my experience, have had similar experiences, and not quite though that total metamorphosis. That is still the hard one for myself to this day. I think my answer is yeah, it was just the same thing. It just that
Mhm.
was its ward you off face, if you will, right?
Well, and it seems to me that it was trying to warn you even before that with the rock throwing, but you just were like, "Huh, what's that?" Right? You know? You didn't
No,
know. If you'd known, you would have been like, "Oh, there's the rocks. Let's go."
yeah, that's a great point because a lot of people say, just because a let's say an alleged Bigfoot is throwing rocks at you, it's not to harm you, it's to tell you it's a warning, get the heck out of here. You're
Yeah.
in my space, get away. Because I people have suggested to me that if the Bigfoot wanted to hit you with a rock, he probably could.
You wouldn't make it. He'd get you.
Yeah, he would smack that hit you right in the middle of your eyes. So yeah, it's still a mystery. It's kind of, I seen what I seen, and that's why I like, telling the story every once in a while. I've told it so many times, but that's how I got started, and I saw what I saw, and I definitely saw something, much like thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that have as well, right? And the thing is, we all just look for the answers. It's a mystery. Again, if I never had that experience, despite having many ghost experiences throughout my life and paranormal experiences,
Mhm.
I never thought to talk about it on a show. It's just, hey, because I'm thinking everybody's seen a ghost. I'm not unique to
Yeah.
that. You know,
Well, I think it's good that we make these places to share stuff verbally rather than just write it, because if you just wrote it, it's good to have a book, but
yeah,
people can actually see you as a human and see
yeah,
the emotion and see how it affects you. I know people who have had UFO experiences, and I tried to interview some. I had to end the interview because they have PTSD, and I would
mm,
never, I'd never post something. We were pre-recording, thankfully, and I would never post someone's PTSD moment like right on my show because they thought they would be okay, and then when they start remembering this UFO thing that no one would understand, not even I understood because I've never had it, they just had full PTSD. It was clearly to me something really 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 happened to
yes.
them, and it's torn apart their life, and they've had to, like, they ended their marriages, they flipped their lives upside down and became involved in communities that were going to help them because nobody would, and they made fun of them, and they were going through real PTSD for real.
You know what? I believe it, and hey, listen, like I made mention earlier, I wasn't kidding when I went to a dark space. I didn't go back to work. I checked in out of work, but I didn't go back full time working for like 6 months. And and I think in part it was because of the death thing. Maybe, not so much my ex the encounter. If I had had that encounter and Cindy was alive today,
Mhm.
no big deal. I mean, yeah, it's a big deal to me because I've seen something that's not supposed to exist, and it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Even though, I've seen apparitions and things, which is very weird. But to see something like physically like this, where verbalized at me, it sent off I got zapped, as you said, right?
Right.
And for my vision to get distorted, for like time to like slow down to like nothing, you know. I mean, it literally felt like I was there on that boat for hours when literally this entire experience was probably less than 15 seconds, you
It's
know?
really weird that it had those actual effects on you because you think, well, if it's just a physical being, how could it do that to me, right? It feels
Yeah.
like it's got some kind of strange powers that we just, as humans, don't have. It's a very strange effect.
I've talked to I just seen Dr. Jeff Meldrum, rest in peace, genocide put up. Yeah, I that was brought up during my show today earlier I did. And I'm
Hmm.
like, oh my lord, he passed on. Yeah. Yeah, again, big into the Bigfoot. If you're for those unfamiliar, check him out. But going back to
Hmm.
what you said, what was that? It was like,
It was just such a unusual effect that it could have on you. It doesn't feel like a normal physical being. It feels like it's got some weird superpower that
yes, the
us
superpower
humans
thing.
don't have.
Well, I will say this: I'm not in that camp that Bigfoot's like this big galoot ape. I think that is a humanoid of some sort. I do believe that they have the paranormal abilities, though, because I've spoke to many people that do not believe that Bigfoot is just flesh and blood. They think that it's
Right.
got other abilities, like these
Like
Bigfoot can cloak,
interdimensional.
interdimensional. I did an interview with Ron Moorhead, one of the most respected men in this field. He put out the Sierra Sounds, and he started researching Bigfoot for he's like for 4 decades at least. And he was on my show. And when I first met Ron, he said, "Young man, if you'd have told me that you thought that Bigfoot was paranormal, I would tell you to turn around and go home." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, really?" He goes, "Yes." He goes, "However," excuse me, he goes, "I've evolved." And Ron Moorhead wrote the book, The Quantum Bigfoot, where he believes that Bigfoot can take his energy and converts that mass into energy, which allows him to move so swiftly, so quickly. I've heard stories that they've seen Bigfoot at site A, and all of a sudden he's at site B 3 miles up the road, but he gets there in seconds, converts that mass energy, and boom. And there's people that think that they walk through portals, come from a different dimension. I believe in all that stuff. I believe all that exists, not only with Bigfoot, with these dogmen, all these cryptid creatures. I believe that there are portals, open portals in the woods. You talk about the missing 411, where how people
That's
just
spooky
vanish,
stuff.
how
That's
people just
spooky and
vanish.
eerie.
It's very spooky. And there's many avenues you can take with that. The human element, the actual predators like mountain lions, this, that, and the other, cryptids, Bigfoot. But what about the portal? I know I've talked to many people that have experienced these portals. And a lot of times, most of the time, when you walk through a portal, you ain't coming back. You're gone. You're in some other realm.
Yeah, and that's a creepy notion. I
Oh,
mean, that's actually terrifying.
that's another reason why it was so creepy about going in the woods, because you could inadvertently walk into a portal. I talked to a person that was walking through the woods, and all of a sudden, very familiar, this guy was telling me, he was hunting and camping in this area for 20 years. Then he noticed a different trail cut into his path, which was foreign to him. He went down this path, this guy is telling me. Then, after about 3 minute hike down this new trail, he was now in unfamiliar territory. He says, "Rob, if the trees were oak, they were now birch. If the tree coloring was a plush green, it was an offset brown. Very creepy," he said. And then he said he had experienced elementals and the fae in the woods that actually directed him back towards to get it out of whatever realm he was in. I mean, there's so many things. I mean,
You know, I
we could
I
talk for
often
hours about this stuff.
I often wonder when I was in the woods there, I often wonder, like, was there a portal? Like, was my body warning me, like, something weird's here, you better leave. You're about to get sucked in. Like, it was just too weird.
Very weird. And John, a side note, it's not a puppy. It's my brother's dog who has a urinary tract infection. But yeah, thanks for asking, John.
And
Side.
you're looking after him. You're a good
Yeah, I'm
good
looking after the
friend.
guy. Now he's over there laying down.
Oh, well,
He
my
was
dogs are out there. First, they tried to start a fight behind me. That's why my screen. I've been put my mic on and I put my screen on. Then they come in here with, and then they're trying to start another one. Now they're the guy, the squeaky toy. They are like trying to test my patience.
Yeah.
Okay, that's yeah. It's so there's so many ideas and different experiences. It's like, and a lot of people will criticize because they're like, "Hey, we haven't found any carcasses or any stool samples," and I'm like, "Well." uh,
And how many people have really seen bear carcasses and deer carcasses? I mean,
You
you know,
know,
eh, yes, more so, yes, they find them, but you guys, and who knows, maybe Bigfoot bury their dead. That's another thing. We've never found a Bigfoot body. How do we know they don't bury him immediately?
that's a
Because I
good
tell
point.
you what, where there's one Bigfoot, I do believe this from what I've been told, and a lot of the information I gather is from all these experienced researchers. I've done 300 interviews in 3 years with different people that research. Okay,
Mhm.
and a lot of them suggest that they perhaps bury their dead immediately because where there's one, there's the clan. They travel together. Where there's
Mhm.
one, no, this they don't, unless it's a rogue creature that was kicked out of its troop or its family unit. They travel together. They travel with the entire family. If there's one,
Right.
there's 5 or 6 around,
They're little
and they're
tribes.
watching you. Like when you said, the eerie feeling about being watched, you're being watched when you go in the woods if there's Bigfoot in the area.
Mhm.
They watch you from a distance, you know. So,
Well, I'm glad they never hurt me. That was quite kind of them if
yeah.
it was them.
And again, right, and for everybody listening, people always say, because I always say I don't call Bigfoot the friendly forest giant, and I get a lot of flack for that. And it's only because of my personal experience. 90% of the people I talk to have never had anything bad happen. The bad one, from what I gather, is like the dogmen. People have heard about the land between the lakes where that family got allegedly massacred by a dog man. For those who don't know about that, just look up the LBL, land between the lakes. It's been in the newspaper. It's something terrible happened there with that creature. But again, I don't give Bigfoot a bad rap. I think they want to be by themselves. They want to be left alone, but they watch us. And I talk to people from the First Nations too. See, this is another thing about the flesh and
Mhm.
blood thing. First Nations people, not all, but the majority view Bigfoot as a spiritual creature, a spiritual object, spiritual entity, not flesh and blood at all. Protector of the forest, protector of the tribes, protector of the lands, guardian of the forest. So their opinions are very different than quote unquote the white man.
Scary
Um,
monster, right.
so there's a very, it's why I love doing this. The mystery is never ending, and there's so many different hypotheses, theories, experiences, and that's why I love doing the show and bringing all this stuff to light for everybody because people need to hear these things, and many people want to hear these things because they just don't want to come forward.
Well, and it's good because like your experience, like you think you're going mad.
You do,
And if
I
you have
definitely
other
do.
people, they can say, "No, you're not. It's okay. We
Yeah,
got
right,
you." Have you ever find like that there's different experiences in different regions? Like I know you talk about Dogman and Bigfoot, but I find like there might be some variations depending on if it's like the Pacific or East Coast or
Yeah,
down south or
the
Appalachia.
the things that I've heard about, like the Pacific Northwest, which of course is that's the place, that's where the Patterson Gimlin, right? You know about the
Mhm.
Patty film.
Yeah, I
I've
do.
heard that the Pacific Northwest and the North in general, Canada, Alaska, I hear that they're bigger, taller. I've heard down south they're smaller. I heard in the Midwest they're meaner. But there's other, yeah, yeah, and of course I'm smack dab in the middle of the Midwest, but there's also things called like the Gugwe, which is a face eater, and if you come across that, they will kill you, from what I understand from certain people. Um, What about these inbred species? You know, they've got they call the Bigfoot down south, particularly in Florida, the skunk ape, where it's a Bigfoot that roams the swamps, and doesn't it looks nothing like the Bigfoot, the traditional patty Bigfoot, but it's like green. It's got like a green coat. It blends in like a chameleon. You know, I mean, there's just so many different variations, but those are what I've heard. Um, the commonality, though, over the years doing this is they're really not terrifying. You know, when they're throwing things at you, pine cones, rocks, they just want you out. We've heard talks about they will come and put their hands on your tent and collapse your tent, you know, because they're so big and strong, you know, but
Mhm.
nothing to hurt you. It's just their strength is their strength, you know. So, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can break this down, Melissa. It's crazy. You know, and I believe they're just like human beings, different cults. I think they have different races of them, different cultures, you know. I think they certainly have a language and speak, right? You know, I referred to the Sierra Sounds, which was definitely a language. Ron Moorhead had a professional linguist on that broke down some of the language. So yeah, it's definitely something that's out there. I certainly believe they exist, you know, and I believe all these things exist. And I just think it's just part of our reality.
I have this theory that one of the reasons native tribes, and not just natives, but any tribe that relied on orality in the past, that they had that it orality. How am I going to say this? Once you learn to read and write, and I'm not discouraging people from education, but once you become a civilization that learns to read and write, something happens and changes with your brain, as opposed to if you're an orality culture that just hands on your information by telling stories and tradition. And I have a feeling we start using a different part of our brain. And therefore, this is my theory I've been working on. And therefore, we're perceiving and seeing different things where we become more rigid and we
Mm.
have to have this cemented information and we lose our ability to seek information out other ways. And I think that's why we have like native tribes that even native tribes has lost it because they read and write now, but I think that's why the native tribes were more in sync in that. And I think it has something to do with switching from oral to mostly written cemented communication and databases, et cetera, et cetera. That's just my theory I'm coming up with.
I like it. It makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does something to our brain.
And I think you're on something there. I could buy that. No, I like
You're
that.
like, I gotta think about that.
No,
But
I
like
did. No, I had to
the way
think, but you
it's
know,
like,
but it makes sense to me though, right?
but
Because
you know how children now they don't learn to handwrite? They're just pressing
uh,
buttons. Something's happening to their brain because they're shifting the technology again. And I think something happened to our brain when we learned to write and things had to be so solid in a book. So now you and we don't have to talk and tell stories. I can just go get away from me and sit and read it in a book by myself. Something's changed.
something has changed, and it's too bad because kids today don't even have to study because all they can do is go cut and paste something on the internet and not put any effort into it.
Yeah, it's really terrible. I've watched my son. I had to phone his teachers and give them heck and say, my son's not even writing paragraphs and sentences properly, and he's 15. What are you doing?
I
Give him
just
his work back and make him redo it. Don't let him get away with that. I got so mad.
I just
Mm.
seen something where there were 18-year-olds that had the reading acumen of a second grader.
It's scary. It's because they're copying and pasting everything.
You know, and even they're not even teaching them how we grew up with cursive writing, breaking
Yeah.
words down into syllables. Back when we had what was it? What do they call that? Phonetics or something?
Yeah. Fun with phonics.
Yes, and they don't even. I don't know what they teach the kids today in school anymore.
My son's graduated and he's really, really good with math. Wiz can
Mm.
do it. Reading, writing, really, really weak. And so he wouldn't let me teach him. So the teacher says it's okay. So I contacted the teacher and lost it on the teacher. You said this was okay. I was like, you make him redo it properly. Yeah. So he's had a
Well,
tough go with the writing, reading and writing.
I have some bizarre theories on that, and I don't think I'm going to discuss it on this particular show tonight. But I think that the elites want our kids dumbed down because I was told one of my friends who had kids late in life said that they did not want the parents teaching them and helping them with homework at all.
No, my son wouldn't
And
let me.
well, and they are instilling that in the kids, I believe, in these schools. And I think it's terrible what's going on. We're not going to get into that. I'll piss people off, but I believe no, seriously though, I think that hey, our society today is terrible. I would not want a kid today at 5 years old. I hate to say that,
No,
everybody. Wouldn't want them growing up
yeah.
and what we got going on now. But anyway, besides the
Mm.
point.
Yeah, so, like, that was my whole thing, and there's something about orality I don't think we can recapture because it's too late. We already read and write. Our brains already. I mean,
Yeah,
you might
of
be able
course.
to meditate and get back to there slowly, but it's going to be hard. And I think people who were doing orality were probably more in tuned with the environment because they were more affected by it. And I think it just made them more psychic and more in tuned and be able to see things that we can't see. It's just my theory, but I'm gonna go with it and keep
I
researching
will
it.
go with it. Keep researching and keep me posted because I think you're onto
I
something.
I took a course in native literature. That's why I first
Ooh,
learned about
awesome.
orality when I was really young, and it never left me how the way that they communicated was so different from the way we were. And I was a stuck up little bee in those days, and I was like, whatever. But it did stay with me, and I started to look at it. I'm like, no, they it's there's something about orality that your brain can perceive things and make real organic human connections, et cetera, et cetera. I can just feel it. I can tell. And maybe you can remember that's why things were different when you were a little kid before you really were indoctrinated into reading and writing and all the propaganda with
Well,
media.
no, it was instinctive, right?
Yeah.
And usually your first instinct is always your best. It puts you on the path. Speaking of instincts, I I think when I was a little kid, since we're this kind of it's very similar to what you're talking about. When I was a kid, I've always been able to do this though. I don't know where it comes from, even especially when I owned my bar. I would never read a person's resume.
Mhm.
Never. I would have them come in and I would give them a 2-minute interview. And I've been able to do this my entire life. I could sum up a person in 2 minutes and I could determine whether they were good, bad, evil, or indifferent. I don't know. I just knew that. I never thought evil or good or bad. I just knew in my gut about this person. I've always been correct, 99%.
Well,
And
resumes are all just bullshit
it's bullshit
anyways.
anyway. Yeah, you can make a lot. So I talked to him, and every time I said yes, this person will work out. They were a great hire. If I just went off their resume and had them come in and hired them, they never worked, right? And you make a good point. The resume is bullshit, right?
Well, and
People,
anybody can write anything and word it however they want. Like,
anybody
I
can have
love people.
you can
I'm
make yourself.
amazing worker.
I can't imagine now what these resumes look like now with ChatGPT. It makes you look like Einstein, probably, right? And
Well, they're all generic anyways, and Indeed's full of like
yeah,
I get
indeed.
fake job offers nonstop.
Indeed is fake, probably, anyways.
It's
You know. So, but
I don't
but I would tell you about that instinctual thing as a little kid. I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. This is a totally true story. There was this kid Jimmy on our block, and I would play with Jimmy and my brother. And now you got to remember, I was maybe a little older than 5 or 6, but and I was a happy-go-lucky kid. Kind of still am to this day, right? But this kid Jimmy, I did not like him immediately after playing with him. I mean, it, it was nothing he said, nothing he did. As a young boy, I did not like Jimmy. In fact, I didn't like him to the point where I told my mom and dad, don't allow Jimmy over our house. I don't like him. My mom and dad were like, oh, Jim, there's nothing wrong with Jimmy. You're Why are you acting like this? I don't know, my dad. Don't like him. So they didn't put their foot down on that. A couple weeks later, Jimmy's over playing, and I just got this feeling. And I told my mom and dad, get rid of Jimmy. And I said the words as a young boy, evil. I said he's evil. My mom and dad, where'd you come up with that word? And I just blurted it out, right? Mom and dad, well, they eventually appeased me and sent Jimmy home. Jimmy lived not too far from me, and Jimmy was in my school district. So I was always seeing Jimmy throughout my lifetime, grade school, middle school, high school. We're in high school. And during this time period, and I wasn't that guy, but all my closest of friends, I said, stay away from that Jimmy. Why are you befriending Jimmy? Rob, why don't you like Jimmy? I said, I can't put my finger on it. I wasn't to go out there and say I think he's evil. In my heart of heart, I thought he was evil, and I don't know why, Melissa. I don't know why. I just thought there was something about this kid. And so time goes on, and so we're playing soccer at gym back in the day, and it was skins versus shirts. To differentiate the team, all boys, of course, and I got in a tussle with this Jimmy on the ground. Our bodies, we got into it. We were rolling around on the ground. And this is one of the most embarrassing things that I've ever done in my life, especially in high school. I was a senior. I kind of squealed when we were rolling around like a little girl and pushed him away and got a whiff when I touched his body. I got this image in my head of something nasty. And I pushed this kid away and I ran from him. And of course, all the guys are making fun of me, especially I guess I sounded like a girl scream, right? And I ran. Trust me, I got razzed forever on this one. I look like a total PUSSY, right?
Yeah, but there's something on him.
Yeah, but we made a physical contact. So anyway, and I told my mom and dad that story too, by the way. Oh, wow, you this Jimmy? It's been 15 years. 10 years. You still hate this guy? I don't hate him. I don't. So I was frustrated. So I left it alone. I went away to college. I was gone from college. I was gone to college for 4 years. Come back home. I have a party. My mom and dad throw me a party. Cool. All my friends from high school are over. Some other friends. Um, I get home, talking to my mom and dad, and they said, Rob, come with us for a minute. They take me up into their bedroom. Oh, am I in trouble? Am I grounded? I've been away for 4 years. Ha ha ha. Rob, we gotta tell you something. You remember that Jimmy that you said was evil and you couldn't stand, and you just, you were just so indifferent about? I go, yeah, yeah. Why are you bringing him up now? Thanks for wrecking the party. Yeah, Jimmy. So what? What up, Rob? He's in prison. He murdered his grandmother 18 months ago. I said,
I've had
knew
an
it.
experience like that.
I said, knew it. I told you he was evil. My friends apologized to me for all the years for calling this kid evil. Rob, we just thought you hated this guy. I said, I didn't hate
No,
him. There's something weird about this guy. And sure enough, boom, killed his grandma, his
I
grandmother.
had a yeah, I had a friend. That's so horrible. I had a friend, and I had moved away. She lived in Calgary. I moved away on the island, and I came back to go to art school, and she was with this guy, and I didn't like him right away. And my other friend didn't like him right away, and I told her, "Don't." She's like, "We are gonna have a baby," and I think she was already pregnant. I'm like, "Don't, God, don't have a baby with him. Don't." I'm like, I'm telling you, I couldn't stand him. I was like, I wouldn't want to be alone with him. And she ended up eventually having 2 kids with him. And then they were just a mess. Everything was crazy. And she took off and left him with the kids. And then the social services came in and took the kids. And I thought,
Oh,
okay, well, it's all over. But this wasn't it. She's like, well, what, you're just exaggerating, Melissa. He just couldn't look at it, all this stuff. Well, I'm sitting there and I'm on Vancouver Island. I'm checking out the news on the internet. And I'm looking at headlines, and there he is, strangled a prostitute to death,
there you
and
go.
and was
See?
up for court. And I'm like, I told you, I could tell he was a psychopath. And he was all smiley and everything. And she's like, we're in love. And I was like, I knew it. I freaking knew
Yeah,
it.
see?
Psycho.
Psycho. I see, and I gotta tell you, everybody has intuition, and everybody should always pay attention to that first instinct. If you think you're in a situation, get out of it. If you get that, yeah, I gotta leave out of here. Um, yeah, but this Jim
Go.
guy,
You may never know why you had that feeling. You may never find out about them, but don't worry about it. Just get out.
it's a natural defense mechanism. Now, I've got it more prevalent than a lot of people. I've been told. I don't buy into that because I don't think about myself that way.
Hmm.
But, but yeah, I mean, this Jimmy. And here, I got a little backstory to Jimmy, which really is going to blow your mind. Now I connected the dots. During this time period, as again, Jimmy lived in a neighborhood, and we would ride our BMX bikes on this trail or along this creek line. And the neighborhood houses, a lot of their fence lines are along this creek, right? So we created this trail where we would race our bikes. We came across on the trail, we all stopped, and this young boys, we were all horrified. We were maybe 10, 11, 12, or something like that. And one of the most repulsive things I ever seen in my life. There was we stopped, and all of us guys, we almost cried. We were still young enough. We were really emotional. We found 4 skinned cats hanging from the trees with ropes around their necks.
Oh my God.
Now, you want to hear the kicker of this entire horrific experience? Up the hill to the backyard was the backyard where Jimmy lived.
So you think he was practicing on cats?
I think, you know what they say about these psychos and these serial killers? They start with animals.
They do.
I'm just saying, coincidence or not, I don't think that's coincidence about this Jimmy dude.
No. It's
Now, of
if it
course, I
is,
don't
it's
know
a
that
really
I
weird
don't.
coincidence.
Yeah, I don't know that Jimmy did that, of course, but it's funny that his backyard lined up to this area where the cats were. Right?
Yeah.
No
I
coincidence.
always question, I always like now I think about all the people I knew. I'm like, I wonder how many of them were psychopaths because there's a lot of them that I was like, get that person away from me. I've even met people recently where they seem like all nicey and Mormon and
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. I'm like, I just don't. I'm sorry. I won't say any. I'm like, I can't say anything because they're so nicey looking and squeaky clean, but I just have a really
yeah.
bad feeling.
I will tell you something. Yeah, people that are overly sugar and overly nice and always smiling. I don't get upset people, but you know who I can't. I'm leery of. I will say leery. I think it's an appropriate word. Listen, I believe in God. I was brought up Catholic, yeah, but I believe in God. I say
Mhm.
my prayers. I do. I believe in God, Jesus. I do.
But you're
But
human.
what I cannot stomach are these people that are always thumping the Bible and preaching and giving you verses out of the Bible. I found 9 out of 10 of these people are fake,
Yeah.
hiding because they're hiding for the evil that they actually inflict on
Right.
others.
They've got a huge shadow inside themselves,
Yes,
right?
and that's their,
Yeah.
cover. So I don't
Wow.
know to trust these folks, but that's just me. Don't be mad at me,
I just
everybody.
I think there's some people, especially around where I live, who
Yeah,
they just don't even know who they are, and they're
yeah, right.
emulating this church stuff that they want to be good, and they've
Yep,
just I think they have a shadow, and I can pick up on it, and they don't even
yep.
know it's there. They're just being nice, and they're like, ah, and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
Now
yeah,
you can tell the nice that's generally not manufactured. It's just a person. That's who they are. But you can tell the fake from the, you know,
yeah,
genuine folks, right?
genuine people who are, yeah, 100%, and it's, I don't know, and I think it just depends, like it just depends on the individual and how they
It
were
does.
reared and raised, and
Yeah,
maybe there's
absolutely.
genetics to be a psychopath, maybe they were abused, I don't know, but you can't ignore those very special instincts, whether it's the
Yeah.
paranormal or a
Well, you're
psychopathic friend.
right. The paranormal psychopaths. I will tell you this. I'm a Yankee. I live north, where I'm a northerner. My
Right,
southern
right.
friends, which I have many now, call me
Mhm.
Yankee. Ha ha ha. And the first time, the only place I tell you what, I went to a few conferences down south for Bigfoot and stuff like that and paranormal, which we're having one ourselves in Missouri here next week, actually, my group. But I must tell you, and I was a little, I'm a guarded person in general, but I've got to tell you, I've been in Alabama twice now in the last 2 years, and in Texas 3 other times in the last 2 years down south. And the Southern folk are really the sweetest and most genuine people I've met
Mhm.
compared to us Yanks up here in Michigan. And a lot of them are so sincere, so very nice. I actually wouldn't mind moving down south one day
Yeah.
because they meant when they told you, "Hi, welcome to my shop, my store." They meant it, and I could feel it. Right? They weren't
Yeah.
fake, and that's them. I always wondered about that until I actually experienced this for several weeks now. Loving good people, man, down south.
Yeah, and there's a lot of social Appalachia, there's like their Mimas, they have culture where there is a little bit of orality going on. Like your grandparents are telling you about things like if you hear a woman scream in the woods, don't go in because it's probably a cougar. They tell you all these wives' tales well, that's what I would call it. From where I came from in Canada, we call them wives' tales or like ghostly forerunners. We had these weird names in New Brunswick for things, but they tell you all these tales. It's actually wisdom telling you how to live life, and people think it's ignorance, and it's not. It's wisdom, real wisdom.
Real wisdom. Yes, absolutely. I agree. Yep, for sure.
Excellent. So we're coming up on the hour and a half. Is there any outside the Bigfoot experience, have you had any experience that has sunk into your mind that you would like to tell everybody before we close the show off? Like
Yeah,
anything that's a,
yeah.
a whopper.
We need 5 hours, here. But I love this show. The time is just blown by. I do have to. I've got so many. I'm going to tell you one that I think everybody should be aware of because this is really pertinent and it's kind of creepy and it's kind of weird. And I do not do this anymore. Um, I got married 26 years old, and me and the wife, I'm not married anymore. It lasted 7 years. But anyways, at 26, me and the ex-wife, we love, and to this day I still do, by the way, but I just don't make this a practice now. I love going to antique shops, thrift shops, and I love collecting weird objects. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be an old looking stagecoach, an old barn, a creepy skeleton. Don't matter. I love weird, odd, old stuff. So me and my wife did too. It's one of the things that we kind of liked about each other at the time. So we started collecting all these collectibles, antique shops, thrift shops, garage sales, right? And we had this part of our room that was always empty, and we didn't know what to do with it. So I had said, "Hey, all this shit excuse me, swearing, all this
It's all
stuff we're
good.
collecting, um, yeah, let's set up this room that we don't use with all these collectibles." So over the years, we gathered all these objects, and then we started buying these cool glass curio cabinets and with lighting, and so we made this a cool, weird, like if you have guests over or friends over, a place to go check out, a social thing to talk about.
Yeah.
So over the years, we collected all this weird stuff and we put it, and we finally got the cabinets together and we finally started putting these objects in this room. Okay, no big deal. Prior to this, life was good, jobs were both good, positive energy, good vibes. About 2 or 3 days after we put up these objects in this room, I just felt negative vibes, negative energy. Uh, same, the wife did as well. She started doing very terribly at work, and my wife at the time was an outstanding salesperson. Never had a bad week, and never a bad month. My job was floundering, and my job was always good. And and then and then we had a string of people in the family had passed on, mostly old age though, but very negative, very down. Me and my wife started not even talking to each other hardly. It was just very weird time in our life, right? And we're
Mhm.
both trying to figure this out. So, anyways, about 2 weeks after we set up this room, I had this one room. I guess you would call it the man's cave, and it was and I had these shades where it would blacken the whole room. If I mean, you could literally bump into stuff. It was so dark. And I was sitting in there, mad at the wife. We're not talking. I'm pouting, and I'm sitting in darkness. One thing I should tell you, the back wall, I was kind of weird. The entire back wall was glass, but it was so dark you couldn't really even see the glass in this room. Then all of a sudden, out of the darkness, darker than dark, from the ceiling. Now, the floor, I must tell you, was 10-foot tall ceilings in this room. From the ceiling, from the bottom of the floor to the top of the ceiling, this dark object was actually darker than the darkness of the room. I could see this humanoid shadow figure emerge, and it's just kind of standing there, kind of wavering back and forth. I am petrified. Wow. Then it kind of vanishes. A couple days later, during the daytime, I'm seeing shadows from my peripheral vision during the daytime now, running past me, and I'm jerking my head around. I think I'm losing it, and I just had to tell my wife, Rachel, I got to tell you something. And I didn't want to tell her because I'm not going to get into this. I saw a ghost in our bedroom before. She didn't believe me. So this was like a year or two later. And I didn't want to tell her just because of that ghost incident, which she shut me down on. But I said, I got to tell you something, honey. Here's what I've been seeing. I seen this big dark shadow, ominous figure. I see shadows out of the side of my eyes is all the time, daytime, nighttime. I saw that dark presence one other time in that room. She looks at me. She goes, "Oh my God, I've been seeing the same things. I just didn't want to tell you." So we both were seeing this. She goes, "What is this?" I go, "I have no idea what this is." Again, I mean, my mid-20s, not into all the, paranormal stuff like I am today.
Mm.
And so what she goes, "What should we do? What is this?" I said, "I don't know, man. I'm at a loss. I don't know. We both work
You didn't
hundreds of
make
hours."
the connection of the stuff?
Yeah, well, yeah. So we didn't even think that because yeah, we don't didn't know what we know today, like what we know today, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I got home late from work one day and there's this woman in the house and my wife says, "Hey, this is so and so. She's a psychic medium. She's into this paranormal stuff." I go, "How'd you find her?" She goes, I was just on a whim. I was telling someone at work and they suggested it's something weird paranormal. So this lady is here. She introduces herself to me. I'm like, "Hi." I feel like all weird and embarrassed right now, right? She goes, "No, no, don't be embarrassed. Don't be weird. I'm here. This is what I do. What you're happening. I've heard similar things." Now she goes, "You see shadows, this, that, and the other." And she started asking questions about the home. Then we told her about the newer room. So she's going through every room in the house, all the bedrooms, kitchen, all the other rooms, and nothing. She goes into the new room with all these artifacts we've collected over the years. She walks in, me and the wife. I swear, in under 10 seconds, she goes, "This is the source." She says, "I'm feeling really cold." She goes, "There's something in this room that's not right. This is the source of the shadows you're seeing." And she goes, "And it's not very good." I'm scared out of my mind. So is my wife. I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "What about these trinkets and these curio cabinets? Tell me about them, the history." I says, "Now, I should tell us not much history. There's history behind them because they've all been purchased at antique shops, garage sales, thrift shops, blah, blah, blah. We've had them stored in the garage for years. Then we decided to put them on display." She goes, You got to get rid of them. This is the source." Okay, thank you for your time. Here's your $50. See ya. You know, that's always me back when back when
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
okay,
If
okay.
only you knew what you know now.
Yeah, right, right. So I gotta tell you, nothing got better than my wife says, "Get that crap out of here." Yeah. So I gathered up all the trinkets, I put them in boxes. I said, "I'm not throwing these out, man. We spent hundreds of dollars over the years." She goes, "Just throw them in the garage for now. We'll decide later." So I put them all in boxes. I put them in the right corner of the garage in the back of the house. Within a matter of a few days, guess what? Me and the wife are talking, we're laughing. No, the negative vibes are gone. Everything is life is good. And we're like, yeah, that lady probably wasn't full of BS. There's something crazy about that. She goes, yeah, we have to do something about that come spring. I go, yeah, that was winter time, and I'm not going out there.
Mhm.
The garage was used for junk. I didn't put my car and stuff in there. Spring cleaning comes. I'm in the garage cleaning it out. It's kind of early morning, kind of maybe it's not early. It's maybe 10 o'clock. I'm in the garage. Sun's in back of the garage, right? So it's kind of still dank, dark in there. And you know, Melissa, I looked at the back wall of the garage as I'm cleaning it out, and all of a sudden, guess what I see on the back wall? That
Shadow.
shadow, the shadow being. Yep.
It's still hanging around, but it's in the
It's,
garage.
it's in the garage now. And I yell out to my wife, Rachel, get your ass out here. What? What? What's going on? I just saw that shadow being. You're kidding me. You're effing kidding me. No, you didn't. I go, yeah, I did. She goes, where? I said, back there. There's the trinkets in the corner. It was right in there. She's hanging out with me. We're just hanging out in there. 10, 12 minutes goes by, nothing. Then all of a sudden, she goes, well, you know what? I'm going in the house, do whatever. Right before she turns in, all of a sudden it showed itself one more time, very briefly. She saw it, freaks out. She goes, get that crap out of here. So I took the boxes, I put in my pickup truck, and I would not do this today either, what I did, but I took all this stuff, put it in my pickup truck, and we during this time there was this city dump, which is like 2 3 miles up the road from me. I took all this stuff. People dumped their trash there. Today, by the way, it's a ski hill made of trash. Yeah.
Hopefully, people aren't seeing a shadow figure on the
Well, they
scale.
call it Mount Trash. I don't know. It's been years since I lived down there. I threw all the crap in that trash field, got rid of it, and went home. In retrospect, not a good idea because I just probably passed my BS on to somebody else, right? Probably,
Which is what happened to you, essentially.
yeah,
So,
and
do you think you have to seal it, or
to this day, you probably should have. I don't know what you would do. People say you just bless the stuff
and
because today
cleanse
they
it?
say they rob if you ever buy anything from well, lesson behind all this. If you ever buy antiques and trinkets, it was suggested to me moving forward, especially with me,
Mhm.
since I have these. I've seen these things. You get it blessed. You get it. Do something with it. Before bringing it in your
Yeah.
home, because what you're
Right.
doing is you welcome that stuff into your home.
Right.
And what I'd love to know, Melissa, is which were the trinkets and what was the history behind them? Because that'd be very
Right.
interesting to know. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you never know. Someone could have been fooling around and put some kind of energy in them. They could have belonged to a witch. You just are a dark magician, not a witchcraft.
Yeah.
There's good people who do good stuff,
Oh,
and then there's
absolutely.
dark
Yeah.
people, right? You never know. Or it could have been in a haunted house. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It's
I
hard to
know.
say.
Yep. So
That's a great story. Actually, it's a good reminder to people to beware of
just
because
be
I
what.
buy a couple antiques once in a while. So,
Yeah.
whew.
Well, I'm not trying to listen. Buy antiques, all you guys want. Try to find out the history, maybe from the antique shop owners. What I'm saying.
Mhm.
Me, I will buy something one day, but I'm going to take it somewhere and have it blessed. I'll try to get the history on it because I don't want
Yeah.
that again. That was so terrifying. And it's a new you know how they say buyer
Right.
beware. Well, yeah, that's definitely when you're buying
And
stuff like that,
and
you don't know what you're buying.
it's not just, okay, you saw the shadow, that's scary enough. It's how it seeps in everything and stuff. It's like people can feel it on you and it starts affecting your relationships, your job,
Yeah, as I
your
mentioned,
ability
yeah.
to have energy and clean your house and function normal. It just
No.
I
I
know also people who will get sick every time they're in their house because there's something in there,
yep.
and then they're fine when they leave.
And that's a great point. You picked up on what I was telling you when I brought that stuff in. Negative energy, bad at work, negative vibes. Me and the wife weren't speaking. Don't know why. It's not like we were mad. It's not like anybody did anything to each other to piss us off. We just stopped communicating. It was negative, bad at work. It was just terrible, a terrible time. And we couldn't even figure it out. You know, we were happily
Yeah.
married at this time. How come I don't talk to the wife no more? The wife, how come I don't talk to Rob no more? We didn't understand why. There was nothing to spur that on. But we know today what it was. It was the stuff we had in the
Yeah.
house.
It's a common thing in hauntings too. It's
Yeah.
very common. The relationship starts crumbling. Well, Rob, I don't want to keep you too much. It's
Yeah,
super
no,
late
it's
there, and I want to thank you so much for coming on.
no,
I
no, had a
love
great
your
time.
stories.
Yeah, no, I love coming on.
Um,
I'll have to come back and tell you my bar ghost story. That was
I
crazy.
we're gonna have to have a show where we talk about like haunted bars and yours, and maybe some haunted bars in reality because
Yeah.
that interested me. That interested me because I think I've been to haunted bars, and I swear to God, I was like, "Ooh!" I've
Well,
been to really old hotels with haunt.
yeah.
I know the bar is haunted.
Yeah, no, I know that my bar was haunted. I didn't believe it at first. Now, this is after I even had my Bigfoot experience and after the shadow people. It's not that I didn't believe it. I never experienced it. So one night I did. And I've also was at Mission Point Hotel, or Mission Point Restaurant, I think it was, which is haunted in Traverse City, Michigan. Haunted. Had a weird experience there. And in Lake Michigan, where I live, haunted lighthouses and haunted restaurants are
Oh yeah,
all around where I live.
yeah. I would believe that. I used to live in that general area in Canada. So
Yeah.
where can people find you, Rob?
Very
On
easily,
YouTube?
my YouTube channel, very easy, is simply Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Type that in your browser and subscribe if you would. And my 2 books are on Amazon. They're simply called just simply type Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Again, I make it so easy. Bigfoot Michigan Rob on Amazon. Both my books will pull up. They're called Bigfoot Michigan Rob Presents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1 and 2, which are actual eyewitness accounts where I interview the folks and they let me put their stories in my books. So I've got 2 out. And everything else on Instagram, all that stuff is simply Bigfoot Michigan Rob. You can find it. So yeah. And then we're doing our Crossing Realms conference Thursday in Missouri, Richmond, Missouri. That's gonna be a blast. We're doing UFOs, paranormal, and cryptids. We got 20 guests and speakers. We got a haunted. We're doing a haunt. We're investigating a haunted location. That's gonna be a hell of a good time if you can get down to Richmond in the next week. But anyway, I doubt it. But that's what we're
If I
doing.
was rich, I would like
Yeah,
totally go for it.
Yeah, well,
All right.
maybe
Well,
next year. But anyway,
maybe next
I
year.
love the show. I love your channel
Excellent.
too. I binge your show. I try to catch up on all your stuff because I think you do a
Oh,
great
thank
job.
you so much. All right. Well, I'm going to put you off. You don't have to stick around. You can go to bed. I'll just close it off. But thank you very much. And you're always welcome to come back.
Well, thanks and thanks everybody in chat. Hello to everybody. Thanks for having me. Thank
All
you.
right. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that show. It was really interesting. Some spooky stories got me thinking. I thank you guys. Remember, visit the website. That's melissadonharris.com for all the links. And Substack, guys, go follow Substacks. That is melissadonharris.substack.com. There's lots of free stuff there for you guys to read and check it out. We are going to be here on Tuesday. That is, let me see if I got my calendar right. We are going to be here on Tuesday, the 23rd, is it? No, it's the 16th. We'll have a show then. We're not going to have a show on the 18th because I have tons of things I have to get done. And I'm the type of person, like, if I start a project, I have to keep doing it all day long. I can't do research. I can't do the podcast. I have to stick with that. Otherwise, it won't happen. So I have to discipline myself. So no show on the 18th. I'm going to be on the show Talking Weird on the 25th, and we'll have a show then and Tuesday. And then Malia's here on the 30th. And then October, we start all our Halloween guests. Got a good lineup in Vampire World. And we will definitely have Michigan Rob back on. I thank you guys for joining the stream, and I hope you enjoyed those spooky little tales. And I will see you on Tuesday.
Broadcasting from the crypt. Welcome to Velvet Bite Radio.